Hello and welcome back to the Respect and to NXT Heatwave out of 10. This year's event took place in Lowell, Massachusetts, featuring a wide variety of title matches and stipulations, including Obafemi versus Javon Evans, Jada Parker versus Kalani Jordan versus Lola Vice, which kicked off the show, and Jordan Grace against Blake Monroe. But let's go into that triple threat. And Parker tried to assert a dominance early, but Vice and Jordan sent her out of the ring with some teamwork before focusing on each other. Once Parker recovered and got back in, she took both opponents out at the same time. There was never a lull in the action because it started taking wild turns. One woman would sell for a bit while the other two fought, and they would cycle someone in and out. It's a familiar pattern. All three of these superstars have proved they can go in the ring, so there's no shortage of fun spots and moments. That being said, it also felt some of the bigger spots weren't sold enough. It never felt like any of the competitors had a clear advantage, so the outcome was hard to predict, with Vice earning the shot at a future title opportunity, and Jet gets 6 out of 10 for me. I think that's probably the right winner. I thought it was a fun match. Was it the most memorable triple threat I've ever seen? No, but I thought it was a fun match and probably the right winner. Before the NXT tag titles were on the line, when Hacken Tank defended against Dark State, and it was Ostrich Griffin and Dion Lennox who represented the group. Sugars was playing some mind games before the match got started, and they used their numbers advantage to take control and maintain the upper hand. Tank eventually got the hot tag and started going on a rampage. He was even going after the guys at ringside who weren't in the match. The ref definitely let the rules slip for this one. The match had good energy, but it was a little too all over the place at times. That is Dark State's whole vibe, so it's not out of the ordinary. It's not really ideal either. After some interference from Kyla James, Lennox and Griffin got the pins to become the new NXT Tag Team Champions. Yeah, it gets a 5 out of 10 for me. It felt like a bit too interference heavy. It's probably the right result, but I just felt, well, it maybe could have been done a bit differently. It just felt like a whole interference face, really. Before the TNA Knockouts title was on the line, when JC Jane defended against Slamovich and Ash Riley against. After the initial exchange, the action spilled out of the ring when Masha took out the entire fatal influence stable with a suicide dive. These three competitors didn't hold back and turned into a very physical encounter. First, I only saw Ash's work as Dana in WWE and may be surprised by her performance, as she's definitely improved a lot. Even though she was involved in plenty of spots, it felt like this was all about Jane and Slamovich. They had the moments, near falls and the biggest moments, before Nyx was caught cheating and booted from ringside, making no sense because obviously there's no DQ. The Elegance brand then ended up putting Jane out of the ring, which allowed Ash to hit her finisher on Masha to get the win. The Elegance brand has all the gold and celebrated victory. Surprised by this, I guess it may be a transitional reign, but yeah, fully deserved for the former Dana Brooke, and I'm excited to see what she does for it. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Before we then got Blake Monroe versus Jordan Grace in a hell of a grub match. Monroe hit a slap and then immediately regretted it to try to run from Grace. The Juggernaut eventually caught up to her and pounded her into the mat. Once Monroe had control, she slowed the pace down a bit and started using submissions to keep Grace grounded. This was because of all match, but it never really felt like it reached the level it should have after the personal attacks Monroe made at Grace in the build-up. Grace should have been out for blood, not trying to work her normal style. The bottom turnbuckle pad was removed and it allowed Monroe to stamp Grace's head into it before pinning her for the win. The crowd went almost silent for the match, which was surprising because the match they had was decent. So yeah, that kind of brings the grade down a bit, but 6 out of 10. I think it sets up for future matches. Before we moved on to Chelsea Green, Ethan Page and versus Taylor Heights and Tyra May Steele, obviously Canada v Australia. These women got the match started. Much to Green's skin, she tried to attack Steele from behind, but ended up being gator rolled all over the ring. Despite this match taking place in the US, it felt like the crowd was pro Canada, which caused Page to go on like I said, they're not giving any of them sisters and shits in an attempt to affect the fans behind the faces again. Fire and Niven involved and helped Green get the win by pinning Steele. This ended up being a solid match that would have benefited from a few more minutes. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Before we then got Obafemi versus Javon Evans in the main event. Both men came into this match as baby faces. So yeah, both were in favour. Femi wanted to intimidate his opponent and use his power to make sure he knew who was physically dominant man in the ring. The young AG tried to fire off some shots, but the champion swatted him away. Evans nailed a super kick that knocked Femi to the mat and made him do the double take. The high flyer stayed on him and hit some nice moves to keep him off balance. The champion eventually regained control, but it never felt like he was as dominant as he was when he started. They told a good story of how Evans was wearing him down and surprising him with resilience. The last few minutes were the most exciting portion of the match. Evans was putting out all the shots and Femi doing his best to fight him off. They had the crowd chanting "This is awesome" as they built towards the finish. It looked like Evans was going to win, but Femi's foot was under the rope for the pin, so another ref waved off the call and the match continued. Femi scooped his rival up and threw him off the top rope and through the announce table in the wildest spot of the night. The crowd wasn't happy about it, but Femi ended up getting a win to retain his title. Yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. This was excellent stuff. I thought probably the best match of the night, and I think there is definitely a story there. Javon Evans, so talented, you know, and just created a really fun match. I think there is still more in this storyline to go, which I think everyone will be in favour of. 8 out of 10. Overall, Heatwave gets 6 out of 10 for me. It's exactly what we've come to expect from an NXT PLE. It has some decent actions, a few surprises, but nothing happened that's going to dominate the news cycle. Ash winning a knockout title was shocking, but Darkseid winning tag titles was more predictable. I thought the 2 belts that stood out were the first and last match, but on the whole, a pretty decent show, 6 out of 10. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.